No one should enter or work in a confined space without a valid entry permit. A valid confined space permit must clearly indicate the following: identification and location of the confined space, purpose of entry, date, time, and validity duration, potential hazards identified and the control measures put in place, confined space attendant, ventilation and lighting arrangement, and results of atmospheric testing. The permit must also be endorsed by the supervisor, confined space assessor, and authorized manager. The supervisor will apply for the confined space entry permit. After filling up the entry permit, a safety assessor will accompany him to inspect the confined space and to conduct a gas test. The results are recorded and then sent to the authorized manager. Once the authorized manager is satisfied that the confined space is safe and appropriate control measures are in place, he will approve and issue the permit. Before work commences, a copy of the endorsed entry permit must be clearly displayed at the entrance of the confined space. Most toxic or flammable gases and oxygen deficiency cannot be easily detected. So, it's important to test the atmosphere of a confined space and ensure that it is safe for entry. All the results of the gas test are to be recorded and attached to the entry permit. In a typical gas test, test for oxygen levels first. The acceptable range of oxygen concentration for safe entry into confined space is between 19.5% and 23.5%. Next, test for the presence of flammable gases or vapors. Concentrations should not exceed 10% of the lower explosive limits. Finally, test for toxic gases, vapors, and volatile organic compound to ensure that their concentrations are below their permissible exposure levels. There are various types of gas detection instruments. It is important that you select a suitable gas detection instrument by assessing the possible atmospheric hazards present, calibrate the instrument, and understand how the selected instrument is used. As different gases accumulate at different levels or locations, gas tests should be done at various depths. At least one person in a group working in the same vicinity should be equipped with a portable gas detector to monitor the atmosphere continuously. Periodic gas tests should also be conducted. Always strive to achieve a safe environment for workers to breathe and work in. However, there are times when the desired safe working environment cannot be achieved or entry is required for rescue purposes. When this occurs, respiratory protective equipment must be provided. These equipment will allow workers to breathe safely in an oxygen-deficient or toxic environment. There are two common types of respiratory protective equipment: supplied air respirators and air purifying respirators. Supplied air respirators are used when there is a lack of oxygen or a high concentration of contaminants. Examples include self-contained breathing apparatuses and airline respirators. Air purifying respirators is a filtration system that cleans the air that is being inhaled. They are less bulky and easier to use. However, they cannot be used in oxygen-deficient atmospheres, poorly ventilated confined spaces, areas where concentrations of toxic contaminants are unknown, areas immediately dangerous to life or health, or areas where the concentration of a contaminant is higher than the maximum permissible concentration and/or filter class capacities. Some other personal protective equipment include protective clothing, safety helmets, eye protection, hearing protection, gloves, safety boots, and safety harnesses. For confined space works, a confined space attendant shall be appointed. The attendant should remain outside the confined space to monitor the people entering and working in the confined space, maintain contact with people in the confined space, and activate the emergency rescue plan in the event of an emergency. An effective rescue plan should consist of name of designated rescue personnel, methods of rescue, type and availability of rescue equipment, effective means to summon the rescue personnel. Conduct regular rescue drill practice. Rushing into a confined space without proper preparation or equipment can endanger your life. Remember, an unplanned rescue will probably be your last.